Now, if you're watching this video, I don't think I have to tell you this, but it's worth prefacing this by saying, obviously, First Amendment does not apply to private companies. That's an important element of this equation when we're talking about this issue. It gets glossed over a lot by certain politicians, I feel like, so it's worth throwing out there and ignoring for the rest of this. For the purposes of this video, I'm not going to get into the debate between deplatforming and censorship, because that's a complicated issue, obviously, and it's interconnected with this, but I do think it's a separate issue. So for this video, I want to focus on the Communications Decency Act of 1996. So I'm pulling up the EFF's website, EFF.org, and I'll link this in the description, but they have a nice explainer about Section 230. It's pretty short, it's pretty self-explanatory, because the law is not that verbose, really. So they link directly to the statute, and in all bold letters it says, no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. Then they link to the congressional statute. Then they go on to say, in other words, online intermediaries that host or republish speech are protected against a range of laws that might otherwise be used to hold them legally responsible for what others say and do. They go on to point out that this does cover internet service providers and other online services. This was obviously written in 1996, so what that means has evolved and changed with time, as laws do. Now, obviously, when you get into the realm of criminality and things like that, there's some gray area where the law could probably use some more text to go into detail about certain cases and certain exceptions, and there are certain exceptions for copyright and criminality and stuff like that. But to me, it just doesn't seem very free market and, libertarian, so to speak, to tell a private company that they're responsible for everything that people do with their product or service. That's not how a lot of industries work today. Now, again, like I said before, this law is somewhat old at this point, and it was written before most of what we think of as the internet even existed. So I'm not saying laws can't be updated and made better, but in terms of interpreting this law as it's on the books today, we have to take its current effects and match that with certain politicians that just want to throw it out, right? So you end up in a situation where the protections and the good things that it does do just go away if you get rid of it. If you revise it, of course, you can end up in a happy medium situation. There's nothing wrong with that either. So the big thing to me is that if you take a public company like Twitter or Facebook and you make them responsible legally for things that people post, do, or say on their platform, you're in a situation where they have a fiduciary responsibility as a public company to moderate and keep that stuff off the platform, because they can't be getting sued. They have fiduciary responsibilities to their shareholders. So in order to stay afloat, really, they would have to almost have curated experiences and moderate things before they're publicly posted. So you might be able to still submit user content, but it would all have to be manually reviewed if they wanted to allow that at all. So you tell me what's more dystopian. Platforms manually curating posts and choosing what you see because they feel it keeps them safe in terms of being legally responsible for that content, or allowing them, as they do today, to moderate that content and remove things that make the platform and the world a dangerous place. So moving on to Twitter, again, the night Donald Trump got banned from Twitter, Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina, had some hot takes about this topic, including a tweet where he said, and I quote, "Big tech are the only companies in America that virtually have absolute immunity from being sued for their actions, and it's only because Congress gave them that protection." First, one small thing, I'm not sure how something could be both virtually and absolutely true. That doesn't really make sense to me. That's like a high school debate mistake, it seems like. But second, the part where he talks about no other industries having this protection just is not true. A huge piece of the gun control debate is this protection for gun manufacturers from the misuse of gun products. Now, I know Lindsey Graham is just being cynical. He knows better. He's not a stupid guy. He's in Congress. He got there by being smart in some form or fashion. It just feels like there's a disregard from Congress in general to understand technology, and that's like near and dear to me. So it really gets me when they go out of their way to advance their political ends by directly misunderstanding tech policy. An easy example is a Starbucks lobby, right? You can't stand in the lobby of a Starbucks and scream and yell and cuss and whatever else you might think about doing if you were trying to get thrown out, because they will throw you out if you do that. They have the right as a private entity to decide that they don't want you in their lobby associated with that business. They're allowed to set the standards for how people conduct themselves in their business, and that goes for the rest of the private industry. We live in a society.
We're living in a society!
Now, I do lay some blame on tech companies for this overall controversy, just because of the way that they haven't always uniformly applied these policies. There's been tons of terms of service violations over the years for things that Donald Trump has now been banned for, things that other people have been banned for, and certain groups of people haven't been also banned for those same violations. So part of the problem is the non-uniform way in which this discretion is applied. So I do think that is a problem that they need to address. And they need to be more consistent and transparent in how they do it. That all goes together, and I think that would make it more well received in terms of moderation. I hope to be doing some more videos soon. I don't know what about, but it'll probably be tech or culture, like movies, books, stuff like that. I'm not really sure, but I would appreciate if you subscribed down there. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys later.